Okay. Today we are going to learn about activities and understanding activities and intents, how to use intents, how to create activity and how to create different activities in the same project. So let's start. Okay. So what do you know about activities? So activity represents a single screen in your app with an interface that user can interact with it. So, for example, if you consider your email, okay, so email application on your Android device. So, whatever you open, that is an activity. So, if you want to read, if you want to compose new email, that is one more activity. Or if you want to go for an inbox or a spam, okay, so likewise different options will be there. So all each one of are different activities. Okay, so an app is a collection of activities that you either create yourself or that you reuse from other apps. Okay, so although the activities in your work together cohesive user experience, so each one is independent to others. So whatever the activities you create in a single project, so each will be independent with the other activities. Okay, so this enables your app to start activities in other apps can start your activities. It means that, so for if you have one application, so it will start one activity. So if you want to use another app in another activity from the another application, then you can use whatever the app you have been started from that activity. You can use another activity in another app also, or same activity in the same app also. So each time a new activity starts, the previous activity is stopped. See, for example, if you have opened your WhatsApp application, okay, so then you will go for a chats. So if you uh, click to status button, that previous activity will be stopped. But system preserves the activity in the stack. So whatever you have been stopped, that will be in the stack. That is, a back stack will be there. So there it will be stored. Okay. When the user done with the current activity, so if you have done with your status part in the WhatsApp application, so they will go back. So when it will go, it will go directly to the chat. It means it has been reactivated off the stack, and the previous activity resumes. Whatever the current activity will be there, that will be destroyed, and the previous activity resumes. Okay. So, for example, in this figure, your application, whatever the application may be. So here you have a symbol in your application, camera and share option. Okay. So if you click on the camera, your activity will be stopped. It means that it will be in your stack. It is back stack will be there. There your activity will be there. So it opens the camera. So once you finish the work with the camera app, you will go back. So then this activity, your app activity will be resumed. So same wise, if you click on the email app. Okay. So next, how to create this activity, how you need to do with the activities. Okay, how you need to work with the activities. To implement an activity in our app, you need to do perform these things. Create an activity Java class. First one, implement a user interface for the activity. Second one, next, declare the new activity in the app manifest. Let's see one by one of this. So first one, creating an activity class. So how you need to create? So whatever the activity, so as soon as you create a project, so by default you will get main activity and a layout for that activity. Okay, so whatever the activities will be there, all are subclass. Okay, so activities are subclass of activity class. So there is a main class, activity class. Whatever the activities you will be created, that will be come under the activity class. So if you create a new project in Android Studio, activities by default subclass of app compact activity class. So as soon as you create a new project in Android Studio, okay, so by default, whatever the activity you have been named, for example, it's a main activity. So this main activity will be the subclass of the app compact activity class. It means that whatever the activity you have been created, that is going to extends the app compact activity class. So whereas this app compact activity class is a subclass of activity. Okay, so this activity comes under this activity. It means this is a main class. So this app compact activity class is extended with the activity. Okay, that's why you've been extended. So why you have been used this app compactivity class in the activity? So it is to use up-to-date Android app features. So whatever the Android up-to-date features will be there, it has to inherit that features also. So likewise, action bar, material, whatever the design you have been done, it has to extend all the things. So while still enabling our app to be compatible with the devices running older versions of the Android, it means that so it will extend the app compact activity class. So just to enable our application, whatever the application we have been using, that should be compatible and that should get run for the older versions as well as the newer versions. Okay, that is the main purpose. You will be extending app compact activity class. So this is, so as soon as you create a new project in Android Studio, this is the default code you will get in the main activity class, Java class. Okay, so public class main activity, it is going to extend app compact activity. Okay, app compact activity. So what is this first thing you need to know here? The first task for your activity subclass is to implement lifecycle callback methods. So first thing you need to remember, as soon as you have been created with the activity, it has to use callback methods. Okay, so callback methods where this lifecycle callback methods, where these methods is going to handle the state changes of your activity, whether your activity is created, whether activity is paused, whether your activity is resumed, or whether your activity is destroyed or finished. So this is the state changes. It means these state changes include activity created, stopped, resumed, or destroyed. So the compulsorily the required callback methods will be on create method. See, as soon as you create a project, so by default on create method callback method will be there. Okay, on create method. The system calls the method when it creates your activity. So whenever you have been created your activity, the system will call this activity. Okay. So all essential components of your activity should be initialized here. It means that what all the essential components will be there in your application. All the essential components should be initialized within the on create method. See, for example, if we want to create a calculator, okay, we need to use buttons, text view, whatever the views we need, we will be using. So all these initialization should be done within the on create method. On create method. Okay. So what this on create method? This why we need to do? So on create method calls set content view. So what the set content view method will do? So to create primary layout for the activity. Okay. So what is this set content means? This method is going to set our content or render the content of our layout on the screen. It means that whenever you click on an application icon, so your screen will pop up with the activity. It means your application will be open with the content. So many contents will be there. So for example, if you click on the WhatsApp, it will open an activity where it has so many contents like chat status, calls, and three dots, search button. Okay, so many contents will be there. So those are all the contents where it is going to render your app. It means that as soon as the app is created, all the content should be displayed on the screen. So that's why you are going to initialize all the necessary components in the onCreate method, and also you will call the method set content view as soon as your application pop-ups on your screen. All the necessary necessary views should be displayed on the screen. That is why we're going to create on content on set content view. See here in this method on create method, the set content view all dot layout dot activity main. It means that whatever the XML layout will be there, that is the name of activity underscore main. So that is the layout. So that will be in the resource folder. So that is going to pop. Okay. So the set content view method is called when the path to a layout file, so whatever I said, it is going to display on the screen. The system creates all the initial views for the specified layout. It means within the layout, what are all the initial views you have been used to display that app. So all the views will be displayed on the screen whenever your app is created. For that, we will refer as inflating the layout. So we often refer to this as a inflating the layout. So that is the first part in creating. So we have come to know that is creating an activity Java. Next, we will see implement an user interface for the activity. Next is implementing a user interface. So user interface will come under layout XML file. So the user interface for an activity is provided by the hierarchy of views. So whatever user interface you are going to create for an activity, so it should follow the view hierarchy so that it controls whatever you want to display for the user and whatever the user want to respond. So you need to specify and you need to control the views of the activity window. Within the activity window, you need to control. For example, you want to have a 5 buttons, 2 text views, so many things you want to have it, or a list view, or a scrolling view, okay, or recycler view if you want to use. So you should control that. So it means that, for example, if you have opened your email application, so if you scroll, the user interaction is scrolling. So to view the messages, so you should have a control on that. Okay, the most common way for defining the user interface is with an XML layout file, where this XML layout file will be stored as a app resources. This is the main app resources. So we are going to design a layout in XML, so we can maintain the design of the user interface separately. So whatever the design we are going to define for our application, that will be separate from the source code. Means that whatever the XML we are going to design, that will be separate from the source code. So you can easily design the user interface, and you can also easily maintain the design of the user interface also. Okay, so also create new views directly in our activity code by inserting the view objects. So then passing it to the set content view. As I said, set content view. Next is declare the activity in main first. So you have been created an activity, you have been used what implemented a user interface, and how it should be used. User can see the activity. So for that, we need to declare the activity in the manifest file. Android manifest.xml. In that file, we need to use the activity. Okay, so how we are going to use it? So each activity in an app, whatever the activity you have been created, so there may be a n number of activity. For each activity, you need to declare the Android app manifest with activity element inside the application. So it means that in an Android app manifest file, there will be a tag, application tag. Within that, you need to use an activity element. Whatever the activity you have been created, you need to use the activity element. So if you have created 5 activities, you need to insert 5 activity elements within the application, where this application will be in the Android app manifest file. Okay. So if we create a new project or a new activity, our Android Studio manifest is created or updated, includes skeleton activity declaration for each activity. So it means that, so for if you have creating a new project initially in the Android Studio by default, the skeleton will be, or the default code will be there in the manifest file. Okay, in the manifest file. So what is that skeleton? So this is the skeleton will be there within the manifest. So activity, Android name, Android icon. Okay, intent filter, within the intent filter, action tag, category tag, data tag, and you will close the intent filter and activity. Okay, so let's see what is this activity, what is this Android name, what is this icon, and all. Okay, so The activity element, see here the activity element, this activity element includes so many things, right? The activity element includes number of attributes to define the properties, okay, such as label, icon, theme. So you can, within the activity element, you can have and so many attributes like name, icon, label, or background, whatever the things you want, you can add over here. And what is the main required attribute? So if you want to have an icon, label, and all, the main attribute should be there, that is the name attribute, where this name attribute specifies class name of the activity. Class name of the activity means whatever the Java file you are going to create it. So by default, your activity name will be main activity. So that name activity class name should be there in the activity element. So this activity element will be there in the Android manifest file. Okay. So the activity elements also includes declaration for intent filters. Okay. The activity also includes declaration for intent filters. Okay, so this intent filters is the intent filters are used to bind the components. So let's see one by like here the intent filter specify kind of intents our activity accept. So whatever the activity we have been used, there will be an intent filters. So this intent filters tells that what kind of intent we should, that particular application should accept, whether it should accept implicit intent filters or explicit intent filters. So we will see this. See here the intent filters. This is the intent filter within the activity element. So here you have an action, category, data. So these, what are all the compulsory elements should be included? What is the optional? So intent filters must include at least one action element, okay, and one category element. And the data element is optional. The data is optional, but compulsorily we should include action and one action and category. Okay, so the main activity in our app needs an intent filter where it defines main action. Main action, what is the action action to take, and launch category so that the system can launch our app. So that the system can launch our app. It means that the user launches the activity. So as soon as you launch the activity, this is going to, this launcher will help you to launch the activity. Okay. So the Android Studio creates this intent filter for the main activity. But all the Android Studio will create action category by default. There will be no data element. So it is an optional. If you want, you can use it. Okay. So based on required by the, if it is required for your application, you can use the data element. What is this action element? The action element specifies that main entry point to the application. So main entry point to the application. So as soon, so it means that, so for example, if you want to come to the college in if you want to go for the college, so main entry is main gate. That is action, you need to come inside that. So next, if you want to go for the CS department, then you need to take a route and you need to go. So just I'm giving an example to understand what it is. Okay. So next is the category. The element specifies that this activity should be listed in the system's application launcher. As to launch the application, then the category is required. So how we need to declare that? Action name attribute, within that android.intent.action.send, and within the category element you should use name attribute android.intent.category.default. Okay. So next is data element, specifies what type of data that activity wants to send. Okay. If our activity wants to send any type of data, so then we are going to use a data element. In that data element, we are going to use this data element within the intent filter. So MIME type text or plain. So how to add more activities on your project? So till now we saw single activity, how we are going to use, how to create a main activity, how to implement user interface, and how to declare new activity in an app manifest file, Android app manifest. So if we want to, if your application has more number of activities, how we are going to add a new activity? So the main activity of our app and its associated layout files comes with the project when we create it. So whatever the main activity we are using in an Android Studio project, created project. So by default, it is going to create main activity and the layout file. So next we want to use new activity in the same project. So how you need to create, add new activities to your project in Android Studio with, you need to create file new activity. So okay, so it is going to display like this as the display as it is in the image. It will add an activity. So select whatever the activity you want and click next. It will ask launcher activity or XML layout file should be there. It will ask for an option. Then you need to select that option. Okay. So choosing an activity template you want to use. It means which activity template you want to use in your application. You can select that particular activity template and you can use that activity template in your project. So Android Studio provides three things each new activity in your app. So Android Studio provides three things for each new activity in your app. Whatever the new activity you are going to create in an Android Studio, it provides the three things. So what are all the three things we should be aware of? It means one is a Java file, XML file, and additional activity element. Okay. So a Java file for new activity with the skeletal class definition. So skeletal class definition means whatever the activity you create, it is going to extend the app compact activity class, and by default there will be a method on create method. Within the on create method you will be having a set container. Okay, so the new activity like main activity is a subclass of app compact activity. So next thing you need to know when you create a new activity is XML file where it contains the layout of the new activity. The set content method in the activity class inflates this new layout. So how many activities you create, that much of XML file will be there, and you need to set content view. It means that whenever you click that option, whatever the design part will be there, that content should be viewed to the user. That is for set content view method. So next is an additional activity element in Android manifest that specifies the new activity. Means so by default for the main activity you will be having an activity element. The second activity definition does not include any intent filters. Okay, so when you create a new project, so by default in the Android manifest XML file, there will be activity element and intent filters also. Okay, so as soon as you create a second activity, so it does not include any intent filters. So by force or by necessary is there in your application. If you want to use intent, then if you use intent, use activity intents within your app. So you need to do this add filters. Okay. So let's see about. So before going to intents, we will see how to create new activity so that you will come to know how to create. So this is our application I have been created. So I want a new application, new activity I need to create. So right click on the project. So right click on the package. Okay. File, new activity. I will create with an empty activity. It will ask, I will say this as second activity. See, by default, it is enable generate layout file. So if you want launcher activity, you can select. Otherwise, don't select this activity. Click finish. So you have created second activity. So with the layout by default. See here, by default, you have created second activity where it extends app compact activity. So by default, it is going to create an on create, and it is going to set the content view for the, see here, activity underscore second. So it is going to set the content view for which activity activity underscore second, that is this XML file. So in this main activity, it is going to set content view activity underscore main. It is this XML file. Understanding? Okay. So that is how we are going to create. So that is next activity. So here you need to see here, as soon as you create a second activity, by default in the Android manifest.xml, the second one more activity tag has been created by default. So in default, there will be no intent filter. If you need intent filter, you can add intent filters. If you want, you can add intent filters, or if you don't want any intent filters in the second activity, there is no necessity to add intent filters. So this is for main activity, and this is the activity element in the Android manifest for the second activity. Okay. So now let's see what is this intents. Okay.